Thank you. All right, great. Let's get started. Hello, hi everyone, thank you for coming. So basically the purpose of this Zoom is to provide additional information and clarification on the new club recognition policy. We know like if you were to read the policy plain on the essay website, it's probably 2 sentences to the amendment. So, you don't really know a lot about it or the context surrounding it and stuff like that. So, this Zoom will be pretty helpful for that. And we've received feedback from clubs and students that the different aspects surrounding the policy isn't clear. So we hope that this town hall will clear some confusion. I'm basically going to go over some background about essay, the problem that essay was facing, the policy change as the proposed solution, what the policy does, explanation of the exceptions to the policy, methods of compliance for clubs, and actions being taken to support clubs, and essay in the adjustment of this policy. So we do have a hard stop at 6 o'clock because there are endorsement meetings for like the engineering and special interest councils. So you notice that you can't unmute. Sorry, but it's just in the interest of time. I'm about to drop a Google form in the chat. Let me do that. All right, so this form basically at any point, if you guys have questions about what I'm saying, I just ask that you hold them till the end and put them in this Google form so we can, answer the questions at the end. Trying to make Krish the co-host. Okay. So if you do have questions, please submit it through the Google form. It allows for multiple submissions, so you can submit multiple times. We'll go through all of that at the end. And if we don't have time to go through all of them, we'll just consolidate all those questions and send out further clarification. You're all also free to shoot me an email, attend my office hours, or come to silent meetings to further express yourselves or get your questions answered. But we do have a hard stop at 6 o'clock today. So in the interest of time. Okay. So let me get started. I'm going to break it up into a few parts. The first is a little bit of background about essay. Not everyone knows this, but essay at UB is different from other essays and SGAs, like student government, student associations at other college campuses. And that's because we're a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, and we're actually separate from UB. So people think that essay is a part of UB, but we're actually separate, even though we are on UB's campus and we do serve the students of UB. So knowing that, we serve as both a student government and also a company. And that's important context because for us, which is different from a lot of other schools, is that clubs are a part of essay and clubs are considered to be a part of the essay company. Oh, yes, I can turn a transcript on. Sorry. I just want to make this accessible. Becky, can you turn a transcript on your end?
I can attempt to.
Okay, I think I actually got it.
Okay.
Yay, we did it. Okay, yeah. I mean, if you guys need transcripts or captions for this, you can just access that through the bottom of your screen. Anyways, what was I saying? Okay, so clubs are basically to essay as I guess a company assets are to a company. And in other schools, clubs are actually separate from essay. Cool. All right, so that's the background you need to know to kind of understand all the aspects of this policy. The problem that we were facing as essay was that sharing clubs with outside organizations as a nonprofit organization allowed a lot of room for risk and liability. And in councils that are not academic, engineering, and sports, or in clubs that do not participate in intercollegiate competitions, sharing clubs accrued more costs than benefits. And sharing clubs refer to another organization other than essay having control over one of our clubs. So I guess to give an analogy for people to understand a little better, it'd be like if company A had an important asset that they had to share with company B, but company A had no control over company B's actions, and there's no legal relationship between company A and B. I don't know if that helps clears it up, but I'm a business major, so it cleared it up for me in my head. Anyways, so in SA, we have no legal relationship between outside organizations, like because students can't sign contracts. As you all know, if you're a part of a club, students can't sign contracts because the liability is too much to ask for one student. So without like a legal relationship or an established like terms of contract or anything like that, there are no protections afforded for SA or the club. And this led to SA having to deal with issues pertaining to outside organizations having control over a club in that sense. For the new people joining, I'm just going to, this Google form is, if you have questions about anything I say, you can just submit questions and I will answer them at the end. And if I don't get to, then I will compile that information and send it out anyways. Okay, so moving into some like expectations, examples of issues that we faced due to this. The first would be, let's say if an outside organization donates resources or money to a club and they use the outside organization's bank account to make the purchases, SA would not be able to track that. And this is an issue because if you are in a club, or even if you're not, I'll explain it anyways, we track all of our club's expenditures and the actions they're taking through our SAFE account. So through SAFE, you can see all like the purchase requests that clubs are making and all that stuff. And with outside organizations like donating resources or money to a club and we can't track it, this sets a different expectations for all other clubs without any of these relationships with outside organizations. We have to go through the PO process and have their purchases approved and be in compliance with our policies, UB's policies, and CUNY policies. So part of the issue that we faced that led us to doing this was clubs have made like purchases or like have done things through outside organizations that violate SA, UB, and CUNY policies. And we had no way of knowing that or mitigating the risk until it actually happened. So we were kind of dealing with like the after effect, but not really preventing it from even happening in the first place. Okay, so another issue would be like outside organizations can also be not for profit organizations or otherwise. They also have a level of control that they want to maintain with a club that they have a relationship with. And the issue with that is that SA, UB, and CUNY cannot concede on policy because of just one specific organization. Just as that one organization cannot concede on their policy just because of us. And then just like a few other things would be like when talking to club members of clubs that had relationships with outside organizations, a lot of clubs don't utilize their outside organization, so they don't utilize their resources, or the outside organization doesn't really provide that much of a benefit to them. And when new clubs apply to SA with an outside organization whose purpose is like charity, I tell like every new club who tries to apply with something like that, you can be a club at SA, but the club cannot use their budget to donate money to those organizations. And the club cannot exist to just like fundraise or donate money to the outside organization because it's just not aligned with our policies as like a not-for-profit company. So those are like some of the issues that we faced that led us to kind of like making this. I mean, there are more, but I want to kind of move on to the actual policy itself. So in terms of the solution, the e-board introduced an amendment to the new club recognition policy to the Senate. Basically, the amendment, to summarize, is that clubs who are not applying for the academic, engineering, or sports councils, or clubs whose purpose is to engage in intercollegiate competition cannot have a relationship with outside organizations. And we brought this to the Senate, and the Senate voted 7 in favor of this policy, 1 against this policy, and then there were 5 people who abstained. So to further explain, like existing clubs who are not in compliance with this policy would not be grandfathered into the policy. Instead, they have until May 17th, which is the end of the semester, to come into compliance with the policy. So a lot of questions being asked is, like why academic, engineering, sports, and clubs who participate in intercollegiate competitions? That's because outside organizations who have relationships with the previously mentioned groups provide our clubs with things that like we can't like as SA provide to them, and it is directly related to the purpose of their club. So things like competitions, like as an example, engineering clubs will literally work all year or all semester just to attend a specific competition that an outside organization offers and that we cannot provide to them as like SA. And then as another example, like when sports clubs have outside relationships with outside organizations, this is usually in their league, or with intercollegiate clubs, when they have relationships with outside organizations, they are all being offered like teams to play against, to compete against, and that's kind of like the purpose of their club. Like you can't have a sports club with no outside organization relationship, because then they would just kind of be like playing within themselves, and not with other teams, and SA can't provide them for that. So that's kind of like why they were provided that exception. Okay, let me pause again and send this link in the chat again for people who just joined. This is a link to a Google form where you can ask questions, and then we'll answer them at the end while I'm speaking. Cool. All right, guys, let me know if I'm going too fast. So there's different methods of compliance with the clubs who are not grandfathered into this policy. So I'll just go over them because there's actually like a lot of confusion surrounding like this whole like method of compliance thing. So I just want to clear it up with everyone. So the first way would be to change your constitution, in the sense of you would just change your name and possibly your purpose so that it doesn't match with the outside organization. For this, you can still be a club of people interested in a particular subject or a particular cause, but your name cannot be the same as an outside organization. If you do go this route, your club would not start at tier 1. It would stay in the same tier, provided that your club met all the tier requirements as usual. For people who don't understand tiers, basically SA clubs are split into 4 tiers, with tier 1, basically if you are a new club, you're all in tier 1 and you're not provided any budget. And then tier 2, 3, and 4 are clubs that are provided a budget, and they're basically like different ranges of budgets. You guys can look at the SA website. It's under like our budget policy if you want to know more about the tiers. But basically, if you're changing your name and your purpose with this method of compliance, you would stay within the tier that you are now. Yes, give me a sec. Let me just. Let me give the senators access to the Google form so they can work on answering your questions as I'm speaking. Sorry. Okay, I think that worked. All right, cool. So another method of compliance would be applying for recognition under a different recognizing agent at UB. Not a lot of people know this, but not all clubs are under SA. Clubs are actually a part of many different recognizing agents at UB. I'm in another club and we're recognized under like the School of Management, not SA. So if a club chooses to do that, you can just go to another like agent at UB and you can do that. Like there are a lot of recognizing agents at UB. Basically, like any department can recognize, different like programs at UB can recognize, different people at UB can recognize, and I'll explain more about that later. If you do choose to go to this route, if you do choose to go through this route, it would provide you with the same resources that UB provides you when being recognized by SA or any other agent. This stuff like tabling, room reservations. You would still be provided those resources if you were to move into another recognizing agent. Another method of compliance would be applying as a new club with a similar purpose without using the name of the outside organization. So if you guys like wanted to start from scratch, you could just apply as a new club and it wouldn't duplicate another club in SA. So you would get recognized as like a tier 1 club. There is like, so there's many different like methods of compliance in the sense where like it depends on your club. So different clubs impacted have different needs. So that's why like I would encourage you, if you haven't already, like for your club e-board, to speak with me and we can like determine a best course of action. And if it doesn't work with like any of these methods of compliance that I've mentioned, then we can like do something else. Okay. Let me do the form again because I failed in sharing it in Access. Give me a sec. Okay, now it should all be good. Sorry about that. All right. So I'm going to tell you guys now about like the actions being taken to support adjustment to this policy. So to give you guys a timeline, once the amendment passed in Senate, which was like 2 weeks ago, I emailed clubs affected about the policy that it passed, and I told them about the different methods of compliance. And I did hear that some clubs did not receive this email, so I will resend one after this meeting. I've been having meetings with some of the clubs and just helping them determine like the next steps. I've also reached out to Thomas Vane, who's the Assistant Director of Student Governance and Student Organizations at UB, who heard about our situation and is happy to provide support. In fact, I did ask him if I could share his email in this meeting for affected clubs who would like to reach out to him in regards to like different recognizing agents. So what I was talking about earlier about like who can recognize you at UB, this is the email, by the way. Thomas Vane. Okay, so basically, Thomas Vane is like the connection between like UB as a school and just a bunch of clubs on campus. So he knows about all the recognizing agents. If you guys wanted to go through that method of compliance, then you can reach out to him and he would provide support for you and resources. Yeah, so I do recommend that, and he is expecting people to reach out to him because I asked him if he was cool with it and he's cool with it, so feel free to do that. Okay, and then this is more of just like when going through like SA and how we organize clubs while like looking through this policy or like making this policy, I've just noticed that a lot of clubs don't actually like fit into their specific council. Like they're like, for instance, like one club maybe is supposed to be in academic, but they're actually in like special interest for some reason. So this is more just like a heads up. At the end of the semester, or like during like the summer, I do plan to like shift clubs so that they actually align with the councils that they're supposed to be in. And then just like later on tighten council definitions, because like right now they're just a little bit vague. And I think that is a problem when people are even applying to new clubs, because we want to make that very clear, like what club is part of what council and why. Okay, but that's just kind of like a side note. There are some misconceptions that I've been hearing that I do want to correct. So the first is people have like thought or like have expressed to me that because of this policy, the clubs with outside organization relationships cannot exist on campus. And that's not true. Clubs can still exist on the UB campus with relationships with outside organizations. This policy is only specific to SA. I'm unsure if other recognizing agents have something like this. Maybe some of them do, but it's different across all recognizing agents. So this is a SA specific policy, not a UB policy. Okay. Another misconception that I've heard is that like you cannot like do anything with outside organizations, and that's not true either. Clubs can still collaborate with outside organizations they can just okay, clubs can still collaborate with outside organizations. They just cannot have a relationship with them or be affiliated with them. Like you can't be a chapter of an outside organization, but you can still do collaborations with them. You can still like advertise like their fundraising campaigns and stuff like that. So another misconception. And then I just want to clear this one up too. SA has specific resources we provide to our SA clubs as this recognizing agent, but that may not be like the same, lesser than, or more than other recognizing agents. I just want to make it clear that if you are going the route of going to another recognizing agent, resources provided by other recognizing agents are different across all agents. It does depend. Some agents do provide a budget to their clubs, some agents don't. Clubs should go to an agent that like best suits their needs, but it's not like the same, like other recognizing agents don't provide the same resources, or they may provide more or less. Okay. And then as I said in the Senate meeting, when this policy was passed, the deadline for compliance is the end of the semester, or May 17th. And just policy making is a pretty like fluid process. If you guys are familiar with like what SA has been doing this year, like there are policies like that have passed in previous years that we still have to adjust and amend to better suit the needs of students. So clubs have come to the Senate meeting, so really do appreciate that. But all of you and clubs are welcome to come to Senate meetings and, you know, my office to express concerns and offer suggestions. And in fact, like I really do encourage you to do so. We don't know the scope of the impact of this policy until after it has been passed. Like you can predict the scope of impact, but you don't know for sure until it's passed. And now we are in the position to weigh that impact and make any necessary changes. So the senators, coordinators, and the e-board are meeting to discuss possible changes and amendments to what we're doing, and to just consolidate all the concerns we've been hearing to be presented in the next Senate meeting, which is next Monday, or April 24th at 5 p.m. if you guys like want to come. So there's that. I went through basically the background, the problem, the policy itself, methods of compliance, actions being taken to support the adjustments and misconceptions, and then just what we're doing right now in regards to the policy and students' concerns. So I do hope that this provides people with some sort of information, or like maybe if you're still confused, then of course like we can talk after, but just like some information about this policy. I'm going to go through the Google form now and answer as many questions as I can. Again, if I can't get to all the questions, we'll take like the common ones, consolidate them, and send out the messaging or like the answer to that through the club listserv or like on our Instagram or something like that. And then I'm just going to put my office hours in the chat if you guys maybe didn't get your questions answered or just like wanted to talk more about this. Okay, just give me a sec to look through the Google form. Okay. I'm gonna go through them. Say received. Okay. What is a specific example as to how this is a direct liability issue to the undergraduate students? So that's a problem. I can't go into specific examples or name specific clubs because one, that's like not right to the club that I'm naming, and also just like I can't go into like very specific issues about that because like as, I guess, how would I explain this? Just like knowing the behind the scenes to that deep of a level is just, I don't know. Becky, can you explain this better than me? I'm trying to find the words. I can't.
So there are certain provisions that are made available to e-board members whenever they run and they're elected and everything. The positions itself have some level of protection that is not had like by every undergraduate student, and that's what allows us to be able to keep certain information that's sensitive. Let's go with that. Let's go with what sensitive information. There are some things that can be made very transparent, and obviously we would make those transparent. But a specific example of direct liability would be something that falls in the sensitivity range that our positions, the position itself provides the individuals in that position protection in a legal sense to be privy to that information, but every student doesn't have that protection. Therefore, the example can be provided. I kind of went in circles, but that's basically what Samuel cannot really explain that she's trying to explain.
Yeah, sorry, I just lost words. But that is basically why. Why has this never been an issue before? So this has been an issue before. It's not just like a this year issue. It's been an issue for for like past e-boards, when consulting with our professional staff about historical information. This has been an issue. And I'm sure like previous e-boards have attempted to like solve it or like mitigate it before, and either maybe it helped or maybe it just didn't work. But this has been an issue before. In short, what is the main motivation behind this policy? I am unsure if you want me to like summarize what I said, but I can. Basically, to like go over what I said about like the actual problem, which was, I guess I'll just go over it. So the problem briefly, because I did just explain it to you all and I don't want to like go to explain it all again to the level that I did before, but basically sharing clouds with outside organizations as a nonprofit organization, which is an important distinction between other student governments or other like essays at other campuses, because we operate as both a business and a government. And that affords us a lot of like benefits operating as a business. Like we are like tax exempt, and that saves us a lot of money. However, it also makes us have to follow certain like legal rules, nonprofit rules, and stuff like that. So with that information in mind, sharing clouds with outside organizations allows room for risk and liability, and has allowed room for risk and liability. And some examples I went over, I'll just go over a few of them, don't want to do it all again, is if an outside organization like gives a club resources or money and they use their own bank account to make that purchase, we would not be able to know about it or track it. And if you are familiar with a club, if you're in a club, then we track all of like our purchases from our clubs through our SAFE system, through POs, like purchase orders. And that's how we know what clubs are doing. And that's how we know if they're doing anything that is against like SA, UB, or SUNY policy. So if they are going through like an outside organization, we have no way of knowing that. And there's been situations where clubs have done that, and then like what they've done was a violation of our policies, UB's policies, and also SUNY policies. And then it's kind of like there's no way of knowing that they've done that until it's already happened. And when it already happened, they've already violated policies, which has the ability to cause harm. So this is kind of like risk mitigation and just kind of closing up, I guess I would call it loopholes. Like this is just an example of one of the issues though, that this policy would like solve. Okay.
Sorry, just to add on, because earlier when you gave the example of company A and company B, you didn't state the fact that even though company B is the one that gives the directive to the club, if the club's actions end up causing any issues, that issue actually does fall on SA. So when, like, let's say the club does something with the money that's not supposed to happen and there needs to be a fee paid or anything like that, company B is not going to pay that fee. It's going to be company A, which will be SA in this case. And there are examples of certain situations where something similar to that has occurred. And just wanted to explain on that. Sorry, carry on, Sammy.
That's okay. Okay, there's a question here about like the ticketing and merchandising policy. I would just say like shoot me an email about that because I don't want to like take up time about this town hall about this specific policy to talk about like another policy. So if you wanted to, you could like just come to my office hours and like, you know, like talk to me about it, or you can just shoot me an email. You can shoot any of us an email, really. Okay. What about community service clubs that don't donate their funds? I mean, like community service clubs can't donate their funds. Like it's not really like they don't do it, they can't do it. It's just kind of like you're not allowed to as like being a club recognized under us, which is a nonprofit organization. But I'm not sure. Maybe that was in reference to something I said. Oh yeah, so I did say earlier, like when new clubs apply with an outside organization, and sometimes those clubs is like for community service or charity. Mostly charities who like I speak to when students are applying for new clubs. SA clubs can't use their budget to donate money to those organizations, and they can't exist to give money to the outside organizations. So there have been instances where new clubs, because this is a new club recognition policy, for like try to apply as that, and then I'm like, hey, you actually like can't do that, and then they go somewhere else because in that case specifically, SA is really not the best recognizing agent for them because our laws don't allow them to do like the things that they want to do, which is to be a part of this charity organization. Okay. There's a question about tickets again. So again, I'll like just ditto to what I said before.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, just because it's like it's a quick like answer to that one, I think it would just be like, yes, depending on what it is, the ticket is. Yes, clubs can usually use
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
I got you.
It's a quick
Yeah, like you guys, the question is, are we still able to use our club budget to help supplement the cost of tickets for an event hosted by a third-party organization? Yes, you can. Becky, I think, put SUNY guidelines define what the student activity fee can be used on. That information is public to you all. So if you want to like read through the SUNY guidelines, I think there is like a section and a bulleted list of the things that you can and cannot use the student activity fee on. So if it's within that list, then you're good to go. If it's outside of that list, you can't do it. But in this case, yes, you can. Okay. My club is provided with resources by the national organization that SA cannot. May my club receive an exemption on the same basis? No, I think maybe what I said was unclear then. So let me take sports clubs. Our sports council, the clubs that fall within that council are to be like competitive clubs or just clubs that play with other teams. And all sports clubs or most sports clubs have like relationships with outside organizations, and those organizations provide with them like I would say just like other teams to play with. They're all signed under a league. They do like tournament games and stuff like that. So that's like kind of what I mean. Those clubs are their purpose are tied in with competing with other teams. The entire council is tied in with like competing with other teams and stuff. And SA just can't provide that to them. Okay. Okay, you said y'all were worried about clubs using outside resources to break policies. Why can't you just invoke your policy and de-recognize them for the violation instead of punishing so many other clubs? So our initial response to a club breaking a policy is not derecognition. That is, in my opinion, like a little harsh. If you want to hear more about like the policy, the violations policy that we have, it is like on our website public. So that's like, you can kind of see like the scope of what we do and like the level of like what we do for the clubs who break policies. The problem more lies in the fact that like we don't know. It's like we don't want to wait for clubs to break policies and then be like, okay, like here's the next steps. Like, oh, they broke a policy, damn, like what do we do about that? Like what do we do about the impact of that? It's more of like, we don't want you to break policies and we don't want to give you that. Sorry. I get distracted when texts come in, but yeah, we don't want you guys to break that policy in the first place. It's not kind of like you break it and then that's what it is. We want it the other way around, where you don't break it at all.
It's
Okay.
also just noting on the it's also a lot easier to say just like derecognize individuals, clubs when they do things that violate than it is to actually do so. And our main goal is usually to help the clubs get what they need done, as opposed to derecognizing a club for the mistake of one individual or one student. Just putting that out there, or like something they couldn't control.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of our violations policy, if you guys like take a look at it, like the first step to things, unless the policy is like very illegal that you're violating, is just re-education. So if a club violates, let's say like our expenditure and encumbrance policy, which is if they make a financial commitment before approval, the first step is not derecognition. The first step is like a meeting with the treasurer and explaining to them like how you actually put in purchase requests and stuff. It's not like straight to derecognition. What would we lose by going to another recognizing agent? So if you were to go to another recognizing agent, you would lose being recognized by SA, and that comes with like the budget that we give you guys, depending like what tier you are. And then I would say like that's kind of what we provide to our clubs that's different. Like, okay, so all organizing agents at UB are provided the same UB resources for their clubs. So you can still table on campus, you can still reserve rooms, you can still use like the bulletin boards at SU. There's a bunch of other stuff that you can do that's UB benefits in that, like, I don't want to like go into too much detail, but UB provides all of those things. If you were to go to another recognizing agent that's not SA, then you would lose like the budget that we give you from SA. So anything that you like purchase with SAFE and stuff, like all that process, like that wouldn't be a part of UB, that's a part of SA. With another recognizing agent, they're all different and it really depends. Some of them provide you with the budget, some of them don't. That's why it's important to like kind of see all the recognizing agents and see which one best suits your needs. I do encourage everyone to reach out to Thomas Vane. I'm just gonna put his contact again. Thomas Vane. He has knowledge of the recognizing agents on campus because he's the assistant director of student organizations and student governance. So I talked to him and he said I could share his email in this meeting, and he's more than happy to provide support and resources to those looking for another recognizing agent. Okay. Oh, this is kind of a similar question. You would lose your budget if you move to a different department though. Yes, like that's true because your budget would come from SA, not UB. What about clubs who don't have a corresponding department? Some clubs don't fit into a particular department. Yeah, ditto on like the reach out to Thomas Vane thing, but departments like academic departments like the School of Law, School of Management, they're not the only recognizing agents on campus. Like for example, the IDC is a recognizing agent on campus and they don't have like a department necessarily. And there's also like a bunch of other recognizing agents on campus that don't have a department. Yeah, like Liz Ladano from the Dean of Students, like the Buffalo Chips are recognized under her. So different offices, different departments, they all recognize, and you don't necessarily have to be a part of like, you don't have to, like if you are not a club that's academic, and you don't have to go to one of those departments, basically. Okay. Some clubs have already tried finding another recognizing agent, and there are almost none on campus that can afford to take on a club. So how is that an option for us? Well, there are a lot of like recognizing agents on campus. I have heard the same concern with like some clubs are like, oh, like we tried like these recognizing agents and they can't like take us. That's why I was like plugging Thomas's email, because there are more. And if not, like I can reach out to like recognizing agents themselves and just kind of like see the vibe and explain to them our situation. I think Tom is a good place to start because he's kind of like the pin person for all of these. So I would say like talk to Tom and see if like there are more options for you guys in terms of recognizing agents. And if that doesn't work, then you guys should like shoot me an email. Okay. Similar question. I will address it anyways. What if a club's corresponding department doesn't have any money to recognize and support clubs? I heard the poli-sci department doesn't have money, for example. So again, like different recognizing agents have different like policies from us and different like budget that they give clubs. So that's why like if your department, like the poli-sci department, I would take as an example, because it's mentioned here, like if they didn't have the money that you're looking for to support clubs, then like they don't suit your needs. And I would just encourage you to like find another department or find another recognizing agent. Okay. So clubs can't just not affiliate. Clubs are not allowed to share a name with the other organization. Well, like they're one and the same. So clubs, like when you're applying for a new club, there's like a section that says like affiliation to another organization. It just says affiliations. So you would not fill that section out if you're not a part of like the councils I explained earlier. And you would not share their name. So it's kind of like if you're affiliated, you would have the name of the larger organization. So you wouldn't do either. You wouldn't affiliate and you wouldn't share the name. Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm not sure if that one was clear.
just something else that I wanted to put out about the names aspect of it. Not affiliating, sometimes it's like some organizations, if you still have the same name as they do and you do not affiliate yourself with them, sometimes they do not want you to have the same name. So that part is why there could be a chance where you could have the same name as a national organization and they don't care. But that aspect of it doesn't really come from highly from our end. It comes from what it is they would desire for the name, because they could have it like, I don't know, trademark, patented, or whatever the legal term is.
Yeah. Okay. If we do find another agent on campus, how are we supposed to get members when we can't table at SA events or find a room to hold our club meetings? Okay, SA doesn't offer like our tabling a lot. Like we only do that maybe once and it's for specific councils. The tabling and stuff like Campus Fest and stuff like that, that all comes from UB, Student Life, Student Engagement. Finding a room to hold club meetings, that also comes from UB. So if you were to not be recognized under SA, but you were recognized under poli-sci department, you would still be able to table, you would still be able to hold club meetings in rooms, because that's a UB privilege that you're afforded when being recognized by a UB recognizing agent. Okay. Why would an outside organization provide any support to a club that is not affiliated with them? I'm not sure about the question. I don't think they would. Yeah.
I mean,
So
sometimes
that's why it's like up to, I mean, they might not. As I said earlier, like it depends on your club. Different clubs have different needs. Some are okay with like just changing their name. Some want that outside support from the organization. So it'd be better for them to find a different recognizing agent. If you think that your relationship with your outside organization right now, like they wouldn't provide any support to you if you're not affiliated with them, then like I would say like SA probably doesn't suit your needs, and you would, if you want to keep that relationship, go to another recognizing agent. But if you don't really care for like the support, or your outside organization doesn't provide you with any support, then it could be good for you to change your name and still be recognized under SA. Kind of depends on like the needs of the club and where your e-board wants to take this. What were you saying, Becky?
Oh, I was just saying that, well, because the question was like, why would an outside organization provide support to a club not affiliated? I just wanted to put out that there are a lot of organizations that actually do provide support to other organizations or clubs without affiliation due to the benefit that their organization is supposed to provide to students and individuals. So yes, it would tie into Sammy's point of it depends on what the club is supposed to do, but there are lots of reasons why outside organizations will provide support regardless of affiliations.
Yeah, and we're not saying like don't take that support. Like if an outside organization, even one that's like not the one that you have a relationship wants to like provide you support, you kind of would go through the same process. Like you fill out like, oh, this is what this org wants to donate to us. Like, can we take it? Can we not? Blah, blah, blah. Like you can still receive those things. Okay, next question. Can the policy be removed? Yes, it can. I mean, not the whole policy, that's like how new clubs get recognized, but the line in the policy can be removed. That's kind of why like the Senate is a thing. We just kind of hear all like the concerns from both sides and consolidate all that information and then like make a decision as to if it would be removed, it would be amended, if it would stay the same, like stuff like that. And I would say like that kind of just goes for all policies, I guess, I say like it can be amended, it can be removed.
There are a couple that actually cannot be so easily removed or amended. But yes.
I mean, yeah, I mean that would be tied in with like, as I said earlier, like nonprofit, UB or SUNY. Okay. So we can so we can take part in outside organizations as long as we don't share a name / formal relationships. Will SA still assist with student conference attendance for these clubs who aren't chapters? I think I understand your question. So you can still like collaborate and like if they wanted to like give you like resources and stuff, it's just like a simple like same thing as any like okay let me step it back. So basically if outside organizations for any of our clubs who have affiliates or don't have affiliates want to donate to us or like want to give clubs money and stuff, you would fill out like a form that tells us like what they're trying to give you, and then we would see if it's illegal or not, and then if it's not, then it would go into your budget or it'd be inventoried with us and stuff like that. So if you want, if like your specific outside organization wanted to give you those resources, give you donate, give you that money and stuff, you would still go through that like exact same process that I just detailed. And if it's not illegal to accept, then you can accept it. Will SA still assist with student conference attendance for these clubs who aren't chapters? I mean, if you were invited to a conference and you wanted to attend it, then yeah, you can like attend it. Yeah. Okay. Can non-SA clubs still table in SU or just in other parts of campus? Non-SA clubs can definitely table in SU. Yeah, it's the same thing with putting in like a UB link to table. It's the same process. UB linked is a process for all of UB, all clubs that exist on campus at UB, not just SA clubs. That's a UB thing. Okay. Some clubs have been working like this with SA for over 40 years. So why hasn't it needed to be addressed before? Why can't you just work it out how other SAs have worked it out before? And we can definitely look into more like other student organizations and stuff. But it's just kind of like a unique position. But yeah, like we will definitely look into that more. Yeah, good idea. And again, like this isn't like a new problem. This has been a problem for a while. So I mean, it's likely been addressed before by e-boards, and maybe it worked, like maybe it helped the situation, but it's kind of gotten to a point where it's like whatever they did before isn't helping. So, you know, like this is a new way of addressing it. And if this doesn't work, then it won't go like this. But if it does work, then it will go like this. But yeah, good idea. Like checking with other essays, we will do that. Can we travel and attend in events that the organization we left holds? Can we share these events with our members? Will we have to attend as individuals or can we attend as a club? If you guys get invited to like an event that your org holds, then you guys can go. It's just like a normal conference. Yeah. Let's see. Can clubs change to a different council prior to the start of next semester? Will you reach out to clubs that aren't in the right council before the end of the semester? Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna like look through all of it because I think just like with different VPs interpreting like the councils, like sorting them into like different councils, it's just been like the interpretation has been slightly off. So I'm going to first just make it really clear what each council is supposed to be about. And I'll talk to like the council coordinators about that as well. And then me and the council coordinators will go through all the clubs and be like, you know, oh, why is this one even here? Like that makes no sense. And then, yeah, for sure, I will reach out to you guys before the end of the semester. Yeah, if there's any clubs like that, I will reach out to you guys. Okay. Can you confirm that changing the name and purpose of the club in the Constitution won't affect our chair/budget for next year? We already submitted for a budget under the former name. I know you mentioned this. I would just like to confirm this. Yep. I actually already talked to Alana in the finance committee about this whole thing and how like we've made a note of every club that is like changing the name. And actually you can even shoot me an email to like double confirm. But yeah, I've informed the finance committee of clubs that are just like changing the name and the purpose. You will not be affected in terms of tier and budget, but if there's a mistake and you are, there is a period of grace time where we can just fix that for you. And like, as you all know and got messaging on, this will be at the end of April. So if there's any issues with that, you can reach out to me, but there shouldn't be because the finance committee is clear as to this is how it's happening. Okay. Oh, can non-essay clubs table at the Welcome Weekend Club Fair and the Accept the Students Day Club Fair? That is an student engagement, student life thing. I'm pretty sure I've seen like non-essay clubs table at all of these fairs, so probably. But you know, you should probably talk to like, again, Thomas Bain for more information on that because we actually like don't run those fairs. Yeah. Okay. Were y'all expecting this amount of pushback or is this a surprise? I mean, yeah, it's like definitely a controversial policy for sure. We definitely expected pushback. What I was saying, like the Senate meeting is kind of just like, you can kind of predict the scope of impact, but you don't really know for sure. And you can't make any amendments until you do know for sure. So the policy was passed. The scope of impact has happened. And now we can assess the scope, hear the concerns, and then like go back and meet about what we're going to do next. So no, I'm like not surprised, to be honest. Yeah, I think with any new policy, it's like just kind of how it is. Okay. Okay. I think there is like one more question. So I mean, there's not one more question, but this is the last question I can take. It's 5:58. So it's how are y'all feeling about the policy? How am I feel like I'm feeling like I'm ready to consolidate all the information that I've been hearing. I'm hoping that everyone in this meeting like learned a little bit more and got a little bit more of their questions answered. The thing that I hate most is when people like misunderstand it and then it kind of leads them to not like utilizing all the resources that they have available to them. So again, I will reach out to like the clubs again who haven't met with me and see like what we want to do next, what the vibes are. And that's like kind of how I'm feeling. It's not like I don't know what that question was, to be honest. I'm sorry. I hope I answered it to your satisfaction. Okay, 5:59. Thank you everyone for coming and sitting through that. Again, if you guys like want to come to my office and talk, you can of course do that. But thank you, Becky. We can stop the recording. And the next Senate meeting is in 2 Mondays from now. So if you guys want to come to that as well, then you can, because it's nice to hear that students are engaged and interested in like the policies and stuff. That's really great. All right, did you end the recording?